So it pains me to say that I found Wolfman to be a letdown. I loved what Leigh Whannell did with The Invisible Man. It's one of my favorite horror movies of the last few years. I thought it was a fresh take that infused commentary on toxic relationships into a horror movie, and he attempts to do something similar here. This time around, Christopher Abbott's transformations as the titular character are meant to serve as a metaphor for generational trauma and familiar woes. And I appreciate this attempt at doing something similar, but I ultimately just found it to be a mixed bag, primarily due to it just feeling half-baked. It's one of those movies that never does anything egregiously wrong, but it also never capitalizes on any of its ideas. Ultimately, I don't think its approach to ground the characters as much as it did worked. It can work, but the execution is shoddy. A lot of the characters often feel distant when speaking to one another, and they don't give you much to really latch onto them. While I like both Abbott and Julia Garner, and they both try to do what they can here, I did find it hard to believe they're a married couple, mainly due to how little in terms of emotional depth they're given, but as a result, there's no chemistry between them, and you don't really get any sense of a connection between them. I know their marriage is supposed to be rocky here, but you never really get a sense of what brought them together in the first place, so I never really felt the emotional stakes, which was also compounded by some on-the-nose and clunky dialogue and a failure to go beyond the surface of any obvious statements the characters made, especially when Abbott and Garner try explaining anything to their daughter. The film is at its best when it plays into its body horror elements. There are practical effects at play that are cool, and the run-ins both with Abbott himself as the wolf as well as the one that actually attacked him are well choreographed and do give this a jolt of energy at numerous points, but they'd be undermined at times by sequences where it's lit so absurdly dim, like to the point where you can't tell at all what's going on, and it would just take you out of the moment. So it doesn't really consistently work as a horror movie, and it ultimately limped along to its finale. That being said, I do think it's a valiant effort made by someone with a vision. There's enough here that work that maybe I'll come around to it on a later viewing, but upon first watch, it just didn't do it for me.